The ship Auralis floated quietly among the stars, a silver spear cutting through endless darkness. Inside, soldiers of the Valari Empire walked with pride, their armor shining under cold white lights. They were warriors born from steel and discipline. Among them was Commander Vareen, a tall alien woman with skin like silver glass and eyes that glowed faint blue. She had led dozens of battles and never lost. But today, people whispered behind her back. Because of him, not her husband, a human. His name was Kaen. He was not a soldier, not even close. He was an engineer from Earth, with no claws, no glowing eyes, and no armor. His hands were soft. His voice was calm. When he walked through the corridors, the Valari crew would laugh quietly. Why would the commander marry a human? They whispered. He looks so weak. He's not even combat trained. Vareen heard those words every day. She ignored them. But sometimes, late at night, she looked at Eli while he worked under a broken light panel and wondered herself, what did I really see in him? Eli always smiled, even when they mocked him. He was small compared to Valari warriors, his brown hair messy, his uniform loose. But his eyes, calm and deep, carried something she could never understand. He never raised his voice, never argued, never showed anger. Instead, he worked. Quietly, he repaired oxygen lines, fixed reactor leaks, rewired systems that others thought impossible. When Vareen once asked, "Why do you never fight back when they insult you?" he simply replied, "Because I don't need to prove what I already know." That answer stayed with her. It sounded human, strange, and peaceful at the same time. Days passed. The Auralis cruised through neutral space near the Broken Rift, a zone known for pirate activity. Vareen was reviewing patrol reports when an alarm echoed across the deck. Incoming signal, unknown vessel detected. The bridge lights turned red. Every warrior ran to battle stations. Vareen's voice was calm, but strong. All units, prepare for contact, shields up. The radar showed 3 ships approaching fast, unidentified, heavily armed. Pirates, or worse. Eli looked at the screen silently, then at her. "Those aren't pirates," he said softly. Vang frowned. "How do you know that?" "Their formation. It's too perfect. They're military trained." Before she could reply, the first impact shook the ship. The Auralis trembled as energy blasts hit the outer hull. Crew members shouted, systems flickered, and the floor vibrated under her boots. "We're under fire." Someone screamed. Vareen grabbed her weapon and moved toward the command console. "Eli, get to the safe bay." But Eli didn't move. His calm eyes scanned the system screen. "No, the reactors are misaligned. If another hit comes, the core will overload." Vareen turned sharply. "You can't fix it now. That's suicide." He gave a small smile. "You married me for my mind, remember?" Before she could stop him, he ran toward the reactor section, the most dangerous place on the ship. The corridors were already filling with smoke and sparks as he disappeared into the glowing hallway. Vareen tried to reach him through comms, but there was only static. Her soldiers looked at her for orders. She forced her voice steady. "Hold positions. I'll find him." Inside the reactor chamber, Eli stood before the massive core, a bright sphere of plasma locked in metal rings. The ship shuddered again. He typed fast, unlocking systems that no one else could even access. A strange symbol flashed across the screen. "Terran Command Protocol." He whispered, almost to himself, "Let's see if you still remember me." The reactor stabilized just as the next blast hit. The ship survived. Lights flickered, alarms silenced, and the control panels turned green again. Up on the bridge, the crew stared in disbelief. Systems were back online. The weak human had saved them, alone. Vareen stood frozen. The laughter of her crew died into silence. When Eli finally returned, Covered in dust and sweat, she just looked at him, speechless. He smiled gently. You might want to lock the doors next time. They'll come again. And for the first time, she saw something behind his soft eyes. Not weakness, not fear, but a quiet, dangerous confidence. The kind that only humans carried. Smoke still curled through the corridors of the Auralis, like wounded ghosts. The ship had survived the attack, but only barely. Sparks dripped from the ceiling, emergency lights flashing in soft red pulses. The crew hurried to repair damage, their faces still pale with shock. And at the center of it all stood Kaen, the fragile human who was supposed to be helpless. He wasn't shouting, wasn't panicking. His fingers moved calmly across the control screen, sealing the hull breach with quiet precision. Every Valari eye followed him now, not with laughter, but with silent disbelief. Commander Vareen walked toward him slowly. Her voice was low, controlled, but her chest still rose fast from battle tension. How did you know what to do? Those systems are restricted. Even I don't have access to that core. Eli didn't answer right away. His face was half lit by the red light, half shadowed. Because, he said softly, I built something like it. A long time ago. Vareen froze. Built what? A failsafe. For human ships. Before the fall. The words hit her like a memory from an ancient story. The fall of Earth, the day the human homeworld was lost, leaving their kind scattered across the galaxy. She studied him. He looked ordinary, too ordinary to be connected to something so secret. Eli, she whispered, who are you really? He smiled faintly, but there was sadness in his eyes. Just someone who remembers what others chose to forget. Before she could ask more, the ship's AI suddenly flickered. The voice, normally soft and neutral, stuttered and changed tone. Unauthorized data detected. Decrypting human command archives. Everyone looked up. Lines of forgotten. Human code scrolled across the bridge screen symbols older than Valari spaceflight. Vareen's hand went to her weapon. Eli, what did you do? I didn't do anything, he said quickly, typing. Something woke up. Something that was buried inside your ship, long before we got married. The screen went dark and glowed again with a single line. Human contingency. Omega initiated. The crew began to panic. They had no idea what it meant, but the ship's AI now spoke in a different voice. It wasn't the voice of Auralis. It sounded human, old, deep, and commanding. Eli Kaen, Terran Command recognizes your clearance. Access granted. Everyone froze. Even Vareen and Eli stood motionless, staring at the words like he was seeing a ghost. That's impossible, he whispered. Those systems were destroyed centuries ago. Then how are they inside our ship? Vareen demanded. Eli turned toward her, expression darkening. Because your people didn't build Auralis, you found it. The truth hit her like cold fire. The Valari were known scavengers of lost technology. They often rebuilt from wrecks found in the old war zones. Could it be that the Auralis was actually a Terran warship, renamed and repainted? Before she could process it, the warning lights flashed again. Hostile signals returning. Approaching fast. The same enemy ships were back stronger, faster, and now locking on to their coordinates. Eli, what do we do? She asked. He didn't look at her. His eyes were locked on the command console, reading invisible codes. There's a protocol. Something my people designed for final defense. But if I activate it, it will change everything. Change what? This ship, me, maybe you. Her heart raced. Explain. The Omega protocol connects a human neural pattern directly to the ship's AI. It turns the pilot into the system itself. But once linked, the body can't come back. Vareen shook her head. No, you're not doing that. We'll fight the old way. He looked at her gently. Your way won't work. Their weapons are made to break shields like yours. But mine were made to stop wars before they began. Outside, the black void lit up with dozens of enemy ships. The invasion had started again. Vareen grabbed his arm. If you do this, you might die. He smiled quietly, that same fragile smile that once annoyed her. I already did. The day Earth fell. He pressed his palm against the control pad. The ship hummed, deep and alive, as ancient human code fused with alien metal. The Auralis glowed blue, like a heartbeat awakening after centuries of silence. Vareen whispered, half in fear, half in awe, "What have you done?" Eli's voice was calm. I called for the ghost of humanity. The stars outside flickered, and the ship began to change shape. The stars outside the Auralis exploded into chaos. Dozens of black ships emerged from the rift, their hulls made of shadowed steel and burning crimson eyes. The enemy moved with terrifying coordination, no signals, no hesitation, only perfect silence as they surrounded the Valari vessel like a pack of predators. Inside, alarm screamed. The deck shook violently. Warriors shouted. Consoles sparked, oxygen vents hissed. The once proud warship now looked like a dying animal. Commander. Vareen grabbed the edge of the control panel to steady herself. Shields at 40%, shouted her lieutenant. Hull breach on deck 7. Another voice cried. Then, the ship went completely silent. All sound vanished. The lights dimmed. The air grew heavy, cold. And in that eerie stillness, Kaen stood in front of the main console. His hand rested on the glowing pad that connected him to the ship's AI. The veins on his neck glowed faintly blue, pulsing with the same rhythm as the reactor. He whispered something under his breath. The ship answered back. A low hum spread through every metal wall, like the vessel itself was waking from a long sleep. Then a human voice, soft, female, and impossibly calm, filled the bridge. Omega link established. Neural sync. Stable. Welcome back. Commander Kaen. The Valari crew froze. Commander Kaen? They repeated, eyes wide. Vareen stared at him. Eli, what are you? He turned slightly toward her. His eyes were glowing faintly now, the color of plasma, neither fully human nor machine. I was an engineer, he said softly. Now, I'm what's left of a soldier. The ship trembled again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was power. Energy surged through the floor, and the dim corridors began to light up in brilliant human blue streaks. The Auralis, once a Valari vessel, was transforming before their eyes. The alien architecture melted into sharper, sleeker human designs. The control panels shifted, rearranging themselves to match human command layouts. Eli's voice and the AI merged. When he spoke, the ship spoke with him. Targeting systems online. Outside, the enemy fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts tore through space, but the Auralis didn't move to dodge. Instead, its hull shimmered, and the shots bent away, curving like water around an invisible field. Impossible, Vareen whispered. Adaptive shield, Eli replied calmly. Old Earth tech. It learns from every attack. Then his tone changed, quiet, deadly. Now let's show them what we remember. The Auralis's cannons ignited energy so bright, it looked like lightning chained in metal. One shot ripped through the nearest raider ship, slicing it in half. Another exploded, scattering molten fragments across the void. The enemy fleet broke formation, trying to regroup, but the Auralis was already moving faster than Valari engines ever could. Vareen held onto the railing, eyes wide as stars blurred around him. You're controlling it manually? She gasped. Eli smiled faintly, sweat on his forehead. Not manually, I'm thinking it. His mind and the ship were one. Every breath, every heartbeat synced with the pulse of the reactor. The raiders counterattacked, sending drones into the ship through torn hull sections. Metal claws, red sensors, nightmare machines, crawling across the corridors. Vareen drew her plasma blade. "They're boarding." Eli's voice echoed through the speakers. Deeper now, almost mechanical. "Let them. I'll handle the outside, you handle the inside." She didn't argue. She sprinted through the smoke-filled hallways, leading her squad in brutal close combat. The raiders screamed in metallic rage, but Vareen fought with a new fire burning inside her. She wasn't just defending the ship anymore, she was protecting him. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Eli's fingers trembled over the console. He could feel every system like nerves in his own body. Every explosion was a sting in his head. Every damaged circuit felt like a wound. Core heat rising, the AI warned. "Keep it stable," he murmured. "I just need 5 more minutes." Outside, the Auralis's storm cannons fired again, forming a massive electric sphere that detonated across the enemy formation. 2 ships vanished in the light. The third broke apart. But inside, Eli's body began to shake violently. His vision blurred. Blood ran from his nose. Vareen burst into the bridge just as he fell to one knee. "Eli!" she shouted, grabbing him. "Don't stop," he gasped. "We're not done yet." The screen flashed again. Phase 2 protocol ready. Neural load critical. Vareen's voice cracked. "You'll die if you continue." He looked up at her, smiling faintly through the pain. "If I stop, we all die. And I promised you," his voice trembled, "I'd keep you safe." The ship glowed brighter, wrapping them in white-blue light. The hum deepened like thunder before a storm dot, and as the enemy fleet regrouped. For a final assault, Eli whispered the command that would change everything. "Activate the storm core." The Auralis exploded into a pulse of living energy. The Auralis was no longer just a ship. It had become a storm. White-blue light tore through the darkness of space, painting the stars with human fury. The surrounding enemy fleet, once confident and silent, now screamed across the Kaen channels as their systems burned under the pulse wave. Inside, the corridor shook violently. The air shimmered with static. Valari soldiers clung to railings as power surged through the ship like a living heartbeat. Every metal wall seemed to breathe. Commander Vareen stumbled back onto the bridge, shielding her face from the blinding glow. Her eyes widened. Eli was still standing at the core console, but he looked different. The veins along his neck and arms glowed blue, his pupils sharp like data streams. His voice carried a faint metallic echo as he murmured commands. "Storm core, synchronization at 90%. Beginning external phase shift." "Eli," she shouted. "You're overloading your body. Stop this now." He didn't look at her. His focus was elsewhere, his consciousness halfway inside the ship's neural matrix. The Auralis's voice overlapped his own, female, cold and loyal. "Human pilot is exceeding safe parameters." "Override," Eli whispered. "Keep the link stable." Vareen stepped closer. The air around him crackled like lightning. She could feel static sting her skin. "Eli, you'll kill yourself." Finally, he turned toward her, eyes glowing brighter than the storm itself. "Maybe," he said softly, "but if I don't, we all die." Outside, the enemy had regrouped. Massive battleships, black and spiked, moved in formation. They launched hundreds of drones, filling space like a metallic swarm. The AI reported, "Incoming ordnance detected." Impact in 20 seconds. Vareen's hand tightened around her plasma sword. "We'll never hold them off." Eli placed his glowing hand on the console again. "We don't need to hold them." He closed his eyes and the Auralis responded. A deep hum filled every corridor, followed by a sudden eerie silence. Then the ship shifted. Panels along the hull opened, revealing hidden reactors that pulsed like beating hearts. The blue glow intensified, spreading across the ship's surface in circular patterns. And then, lightning.pure, controlled lightning burst outward from the ship in all directions. The energy wave wrapped the Auralis like a living cocoon, expanding rapidly. The first enemy drones that entered the field were instantly vaporized, turned to ash before they could even fire. The shockwave struck their carriers next, tearing armor apart like paper. Vareen stared at the screen in disbelief. It's a storm shield, a living plasma storm. Eli's voice was calm, distant. It's not a shield. It's evolution. The Auralis was feeding on its own reactor, converting energy into sentient plasma, live, adaptive, unpredictable. Every bolt that hit the storm made it stronger. But Vareen noticed something terrifying. Eli's hands were shaking uncontrollably. His breath was uneven. His skin flickered between pale and glowing blue. "Eli, listen to me," she said, grabbing his shoulders. "You can't hold this much energy. You're not a machine." He smiled faintly, his voice trembling but gentle. "You once said humans are fragile." "I was wrong," she whispered. "No," he breathed. "You were right. We break easily. But we also don't stop until the world is safe." His body jolted as another pulse surged through the core. The light almost blinded her. "Neural load at 98%, the AI warned. "System collapse imminent." "Keep it together," Eli whispered, eyes fluttering. "Just a bit longer?" The storm outside reached its peak. Massive bolts of plasma erupted across the enemy formation, ripping through their hulls like divine fire. One by one, the invader ships fell, burning trails fading into the endless dark. When the last one exploded, the light began to fade. The hum softened. The storm slowly collapsed back into calm silence. The Auralis floated, half ruined but alive. Eli fell forward into Vareen's arms, his body trembling. His eyes were dim now, glowing only faintly. "It's over?" he whispered. "You're safe." Vareen held him tight, her strong arms trembling. "You saved us all. You saved everything." He tried to smile, but his voice was weak. "No, the ship saved us. Humanity just remembered how." The AI's voice returned, quieter, almost tender. Human pilot neural activity falling below threshold. Vareen's eyes widened. "No, stabilize him." But the AI responded coldly. "He is part of the system now." Eli's body went still in her arms. His breathing slowed. But she could still hear his voice through the speakers, echoing softly. "Vareen, stay alive. Keep flying. I'll guide you home." Her tears mixed with the blue light reflecting on her face as the ship drifted among fading embers. And from that silence, the universe witnessed something it had forgotten long ago, the wrath and heart of humanity. The storm had ended, but the silence that followed was even more dangerous. The Auralis drifted through the black void, its once bright hull scorched and cracked. Inside, the corridors were filled with smoke and flickering lights. The crew moved quietly, tending to the wounded, whispering prayers in alien tongues. Commander Vareen sat beside Eli's still body in the med bay. His chest rose and fell weakly, his skin pale, veins still faintly glowing blue from the neural link. Machines surrounded him, keeping him alive, or something close to it. "He's in between," said the medic softly. "Half human, half system now." Vareen clenched her jaw. "Then bring him back, all the way back." But before the medic could respond, the ship trembled again. The lights turned red. ALERT. Boarding detected deck 4. Vareen's head snapped up. "They're back?" The AI's voice came through, sharp and urgent. "New contact identified. Massive energy signature approaching. Warning, unknown class. Organic mechanical hybrid detected." The screen flickered and revealed a monstrous ship tearing through the debris. Its hull was jagged, alive with red veins of molten metal. And then, from its center, a single dark figure emerged, leaping across open space toward the Auralis with impossible speed. He landed like a meteor. The deck plates buckled. The airlock screamed open. And Kranix, the warlord of the void, stepped inside. Half machine, half creature, his body was wrapped in armor made of scavenged bones and circuitry. His red mechanical eyes burned like small suns. He stood nearly twice Vareen's height. So, this is the human ship that humiliated my fleet, Kranix growled, his voice echoing like thunder through metal. And you must be the fragile commander who hides behind her husband. Vareen drew her plasma sword, its edge sparking bright white. He's more man than you'll ever be, machine. Kranix laughed, a terrible metallic roar. And let him save you now. He lunged forward. The corridor exploded into chaos. Vareen met his strikes, sparks flying, a sound of clashing metal echoing through the halls. But he was too strong. Every blow pushed her back, her armor cracking under his strength. Elsewhere, in the med bay, the ship's lights began to flicker again, rhythmically. The machines around Eli sparked. His eyes opened. Vareen, he whispered faintly. The AI responded instantly. Neural signature reactivated. Sync request detected. Eli's voice was weak, but clear. Accept link. Manual control. The AI hesitated. Warning. Neural damage at critical level. I don't care, he said, his hand shaking as he touched the console. She needs me. And with that, the ship's systems came alive once more. Lights flared across the corridors. Drones reactivated. Weapons hummed. The Auralis's dormant combat systems roared back to life, this time without restraint. On deck 4, as Kranix raised his claw to strike, the wall beside him split open, and defense drones swarmed out, firing in synchronized bursts. Eli's voice boomed through the ship's speakers. Get away from her, Vareen turned, eyes wide. Eli? His voice was everywhere now. Inside the ship, inside her helmet, even through the floor. I'm still here. The drones moved. Like extensions of his will, forming a shining barrier between her and Kranix. Plasma fire lit up the corridor as Eli directed the ship's systems with surgical precision. But Kranix roared, slashing through drones, sparks and metal raining like fire. You think your machines can stop me, human ghost? Eli's tone darkened. No, but I can. The walls around Kranix folded inward. The corridor itself turned against him, cables lashing out like serpents, sealing him in a cage of metal. Energy surged, trapping him in a glowing storm. Vareen stepped forward, sword raised. This is for Earth, and for him. She drove her blade through Kranix's core. The explosion shook the entire deck. Flames roared, air screamed, and then silence. When the smoke cleared, Kranix was gone. Only melted armor remained. Vareen stood breathing hard, covered in ash and light. It's over, she whispered. Eli's voice came softly through the speakers. Not yet. You need to get to the bridge. The reactor's unstable. She started running. I'm on my way. The corridors glowed faint blue, following her path, like the ship itself was guiding her. And in that light, she realized something deep and painful. Eli wasn't controlling the Auralis anymore. He was the Auralis. The battle was over, yet the war inside the Auralis had just begun. The corridors no longer hummed with soldiers' boots or the cries of battle. They pulsed softly, rhythmically like veins carrying the ship's lifeblood. Every light, every hum, every vibration followed a single rhythm. Eli's heartbeat. Commander Vareen stood at the bridge entrance, her armor scorched, her hands trembling from exhaustion. The room glowed faint blue, filled with drifting sparks and the faint echo of Eli's voice. Reactor stable. Enemy fleet destroyed. Mission complete. His tone was calm, but hollow like someone speaking from the edge of a dream. Eli? She whispered. The holographic display flickered, and his image appeared before her, a faint projection woven from light and static. His smile was weak, but familiar. You made it. She stepped closer, her eyes wet. Where are you? Everywhere, he said gently. And nowhere. Her chest tightened. You're not in your body anymore, are you? He looked down at his flickering hands, and back at her. The link didn't disconnect. The AI merged with my neural code. I can still think. I can still see you. Then we'll find a way to separate you, she said firmly. We'll rebuild your body, anything it takes, Vareen. His voice softened, almost like a breath of wind. Don't, she froze. If you pull me out now, the ship dies. The systems can't function without a living mind connected. And I'm the only one who can control it. Vareen clenched her fists. So you're trapped? No, he said with a faint smile. I'm home. The ship pulsed again softly, warmly, like a heart beating around them. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them felt heavy and endless. Outside the window, the shattered remains of the Raider fleet drifted through space like falling stars. I can feel the stars now, Eli said quietly. Every particle, every pulse of radiation. It's beautiful. Like hearing the universe breathe. Vareen swallowed hard. And yet you sound lonely. He looked at her, sadness flickering behind his digital eyes. Maybe humans are always lonely, he said softly. Even when they're surrounded by everything they ever wanted. She stepped closer, close enough that her reflection merged with his hologram. You're not alone. Not while I'm here. His projection flickered again. I know. Then, alarms began to flash across the control panels. The AI, his voice spoke faster now. Warning. Reactor temperature rising. Damage from battle detected. Cooling system offline. Vareen's instincts returned. Tell me how to fix it. You can't, Eli said quietly. The main chamber's radiation levels are too high. No one can enter. Then what are you going to do? She demanded. What I always do, he said. Keep you alive. Before she could argue, the ship's lights dimmed. A thin tier of blue light opened in the floor. A maintenance path leading toward the reactor chamber. Eli, stop! But his voice was already fading. You once said humans were weak. I used to believe that too. But now I know. Strength isn't about muscle or armor. The floor panels closed, sealing the path shut. It's about who you choose to protect, his final whisper echoed through the ship. The bridge lights went completely dark. For several long seconds, Vareen stood in total silence, surrounded by the hum of energy. Then slowly, the main view screen lit up again. Outside, the Auralis, glowing brighter than ever, rose into motion, steering itself toward the nearest star system. No one was at the controls. No one was giving orders. And yet the ship moved with purpose. Vareen wiped a tear from her cheek and whispered into the comm. You're still here, aren't you? The speakers crackled, and his voice, faint but alive, answered. Always. You're my captain now. She smiled through her tears. Then don't leave me yet. I couldn't, he said softly. You carry my heart. The ship's engines ignited, trailing blue fire across the darkness. And somewhere deep within the reactor, a soft pulse continued to beat, slow, steady, human. The heartbeat of steel. Weeks had passed since the great storm. The Auralis, once a ship of war, now glided through the quiet sea of stars like a ghost reborn. Its hull was no longer silver, but streaked with blue veins of light, faintly alive, pulsing with the rhythm of something more than machinery. Something human. Commander Vareen stood alone at the observation deck. staring at the reflection of distant suns across the glass. The ship hummed softly around her, a sound she had come to recognize not as an engine's vibration, but as a heartbeat. Eli's heartbeat. Every pulse reminded her he was still there. She placed her hand on the cold metal wall. "I know you can hear me." A faint shimmer passed through the lights, and a calm voice answered, carried by the hum of the ship itself. "I never stopped." Vareen smiled faintly. "You're supposed to be resting." "You forget, I am the ship," Eli replied, his tone gentle and teasing. "If I rest, we drift into a sun." His humor made her exhale softly, half a laugh, half a sigh. It was strange hearing him this way, everywhere and nowhere at once. "You've changed," she whispered. "So have you," he answered. "You stopped commanding like a warrior. You started listening like a human." Her eyes softened. "Maybe I finally understand what that means?" For the Valari Empire, humanity had always been a story, an ancient myth about fragile creatures who dreamed too big. But now, across the fleet, word had spread. The fragile human had defeated an entire warlord armada. The Auralis had become legend, a ghost ship, guided by the heart of a man who refused to die. And with that legend, something else had changed. Valari ships now traveled with humans as allies. Human survivors, scattered across distant colonies, were finally being welcomed again, not as relics of the past, but as living proof of resilience. The Auralis had become a symbol, a reminder that strength wasn't measured in armor or claws, but in sacrifice. Later, in the silent halls of the ship, Vareen walked to the memorial chamber. There, in the center, stood a single display, a hollow of earth, a blue planet surrounded by fading light. Beneath it, Eli's name was engraved in both human and Valari script. Eli Kaen, the last engineer of Earth. She knelt beside the plaque. "You once said you didn't need to prove what you already knew," she whispered. "Now the whole galaxy knows it." The air shimmered. His voice, warm and distant, filled the room. "I didn't do it for them." Her throat tightened. "Then why?" "Because you believed in me when no one else did. You saw strength in something everyone called weak. That's all a human ever needs to be seen." Her tears glistened under the soft blue light. "I miss your face," she said quietly. "You see me every day," he replied gently. "Every time the lights flicker, every time the engines hum. That's me reminding you I'm still fighting." She smiled sadly. "You sound more like a poet than an engineer." "Maybe that's what humans were always meant to be," he said. "Poets of survival." The words lingered in the air like music. Months later, the Auralis approached a nebula, the same region where the human distress signals had once vanished centuries ago. The stars glowed like candlelight through mist. "Vareen?" Eli's voice said softly. "Do you see it?" She looked out the viewport. A broken ring of ships drifted their ancient human vessels, long lost and forgotten, wrapped in cosmic dust. "Yes," she whispered, "the graves of your people." "No," he said. "They are beginning." The ship's lights brightened, as if answering a call. Energy readings pulsed through the nebula. The dormant ships, those empty shells, began to glow faintly, responding to the Auralis's signal. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Waking them," he said softly. "Human code never dies. It only sleeps." And one by one, the ancient vessels stirred to life, tiny sparks igniting across the void. Vareen's breath caught. "You brought them back." "We did," Eli replied. "Humans and Valari together." She pressed her hand to the glass, watching the rebirth of a lost species, the stars reflecting in her eyes like tears. "You were never weak," she whispered. "Neither were you," he answered. "You just needed someone to remind you that mercy is strength." The ship turned toward the light. The nebula parted, revealing a path ahead unknown, infinite, alive. Eli's final words echoed softly, like a promise carried through eternity. Fragile things don't break when they're made of love. The Auralis disappeared into the blue horizon, its engines glowing like a beating heart, the last gift of humanity to the stars.